Why, hello there. I, your distinguished host, the Phantom of the Walrus, am here yet again this splendid October to bring you the frighteningly horrible. This year, in addition to the Monster High movie that will officially become an annual thing, I'm taking a look at the most horrible thing this year. Late 90s, early 2000s TV-grade CGI, with Scary Godmother. Undead Otter, roll that theme music. Well, we open on 4 kids in Halloween costumes. Jimmy, the one in the devil costume, and his 3 extras, who are not important and will be called by their costumes. Candy Kid, Catgirl, and Cowboy. You are not allowed to turn those into superhero names. Then we get introduced to Jimmy's little cousin and the POV character, Hannah. As the others moan about having a little girl cramping their style, they come up with a mean-spirited prank to scare the poor girl by saying it's a rite of passage to go throw some of her candy into a haunted house, where they proceed to make shadow puppets to scare her. And I'm going to assume that we are seeing those shadows from Hannah's warped by fear perception of said shadows, because no one can make shadow puppets that detailed. Then, after ditching the poor girl, the titular Scary Godmother shows up and puts on a fake cry show and then proceeds to reveal that she's been caterwauling because she liked the sound boo in boo-hoo. Anyway, if I could go off on a rant for a moment, the animation and 3D modeling job done by Mainframe was horrible. If it were made during the same 5-year time span that other Mainframe CGI works such as Reboot and Beast Wars were made, this might be okay. By the early 2000s, the TV-watching audience was expecting better. Kodioko, argument over. Anyway, back to the special. The Scary Godmother, who shall be forth called Scary G, spirits Hannah away to her home in the Fright Side. It's never explained what the Fright Side is, so let me fill in the lore for you as best I can given what little I have to speculate from. The Fright Side is a parallel pocket dimension that is the physical representation of the spirit of Halloween, and the denizens that live there are paranormal manifestations of what the holiday is supposed to be to people. It's the only thing that makes sense given what happens in the sequel. And yes, you're getting 3 reviews this month if everything goes as planned. My review of the sequel will be up soon. After we get to the Fright Side, we introduce the Scary G's roommate, a literal skeleton in the closet who also happens to be a negative gay stereotype, Scully, who is voiced by Scott McNeil, and shockingly enough, he doesn't voice another character that has a friendly nemesis relationship with Scully, and thus doesn't spend 80% of his screen time arguing with himself in funny voices, which is a trope for roles he typically gets cast in, made most famous by Dinobot and Rat Trap in Beast Wars. As the special goes on, we cut back to the bad costume quartet, who are starting to worry about Hannah as she isn't back yet. And we're introduced to a family of vampires and Harry the werewolf, who is officially the Scrappy for this made-for-TV movie. He steals the food for the party and eats it all. Then the walking fat joke eats all the pizzas that they ordered to replace the party food he ate, only to half-heartedly ask for forgiveness when confronted, which Scary G gives him by making him work off the money. Personally, I would rather have a wolfskin rug rather than a mooching fake friend who steals all my food and then eats all the food I got to replace it, but this is for kids, so seeing a fat werewolf getting maimed is out of the question, unfortunately. Anyway, after Canis Moochus shows up, a family of vampires arrive. And Hannah and the vampire's son have an odd moment where they circle one another while they're talking and have I want to say romantic moment, for lack of a better term for it. It's awkward as all hell, and the fact that he's a vampire, he could be grade school aged for thousands of years, so Chris Hansen might have to get involved. You'll have to pardon me for a moment, all the camera spinning is giving me motion sickness. The Walrus Clown has a word for you while I go vomit. Hello there, this is the Walrus Clown here, reminding a lot of y'all that you need to like, comment, subscribe, etc., etc. If you like what you see, it helps with the algorithm shit more than you realize. Anyway, back to the review. Anyway, after the vamp dad dishes out the PG punishment of hypnosis to the weremooch after the fat ass hits on his wife, seriously, being for kids can only carry the lack of Canis Moochus not getting maimed so far. Am I going to have to kill the moron myself or something? Anyway, then Bugaboo, an under-the-bed monster, arrives. He is loud and obnoxious, and he and Hannah scream in fear of one another, and after the pleasantries and the unfunny shenanigans thereof happen... Thank you. You're welcome. Anyway, after they make up and say he can stay, they have a dance scene to pad the movie. Thank you. You're welcome. Then we cut back to the 4 older kids back in the real world, where Halloween is over and they missed it waiting for Hannah. Which only proves how stupid and irresponsible they all are. Just go into the house and look for her. Then, when she isn't there, call the cops and fess up as to what happened. This isn't a black man having a barbecue on his own property. This is a missing grade school-aged child. This is something you should actually call the cops for, Karen. After that bit of anger, we cut back to the party, where the pizza incident I mentioned earlier happens. Then, as the party starts to wind down, Hannah lets it slip that her cousin and his dickhead friends abandoned her in the haunted house. And they hatch a plot to scare the living shit out of them. Then, when the Brain Trust Brigade finally enters the house to look for Hannah, the monsters scare the crap out of them, and fake being slayed by Hannah's hands, all the while Canis Moochus finally does something entertaining by chewing the scenery with his death acting.
'Tis too much for me and my pithy soul. The light burns. It burns worse than the worst burn ever. Oh, mercy me. Is this the end of poor Harry? It seems so. Goodbye, Mother. I can see a long tunnel with a bright light. I move towards the light. No, all right. I die. I flail. Then I die.
Kids run off, and Scary Godmother gives Hannah a skeleton key that will let her into the fright zone from any door, and the movie ends. Animation aside, I can more than understand why there's a subset of late 90s, early 2000s kids who all watch this every year. It's not mind-blowing, but it's fun, and it more than has enough atmosphere to carry over how unlikable Harry is. It has a minor pacing problem, and it feels more like a dropped pilot for a TV series than a movie proper. Especially with that ending tease. This has been your glorious host, the Phantom of the Walrus, signing out for this installment of Halloween Reviews. Be back in a week or so with the sequel. See you then, and don't let the bed bugs bite.